Hello fellow compounders, welcome back. Do you know what is your monthly number? Do you know how much you need to be saving monthly to be able to retire and not have to work for money anymore? Most people I know don't know their number. This is an extremely important number. It provides you the direction to run towards to get out of the rat race. Fortunately, this number is easy to calculate, and in this video, I'll show you how. This video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor, and you are responsible for your own financial decisions. First, in order to make this calculation simple, I'll make some simplifying assumptions. The assumptions are, number one, all calculations that I'll be showing in the Excel spreadsheet today are in today's dollars, unless I mention otherwise. This means that we'll assume that you are adjusting for inflation when looking at dollars in the future. For example, when I say that the return on investment of the portfolio is 7% real returns, it means that the return after inflation. This would be equivalent to a 10% nominal return or a 10% return if inflation was 3%. That is, the nominal return is equal to the real return plus the inflation rate. So nominal return is equal to 10% because the real return is 7% and you have to tack on or assume the inflation rate of 3. So that's how we get the 10%. Assumption number 2. You will be retiring at your normal retirement age, which is in the United States is 67 years old. This age is used to calculate the time that you have left to be able to save and invest. Assumption 3. If you are eligible for Social Security benefits, we assume that you will be receiving 20% of your annual salary. And by the way, current maximum amount that you can receive from Social Security is $54,660 annually. So that's the max limit that Social Security will pay. So I programmed the spreadsheet to cap it at that maximum. The good news is that these are in today's dollars because Social Security has a cost of living adjustment. So it keeps up with inflation. So these are today's dollars that you're getting paid in. Assumption number 4. We'll assume that we can obtain a 7% real return on investment, which is the average, long-term average of the S&P 500 or the US stock market. Assumption 5. You will not be tapping into your capital, that is your savings and investments. You will be only living off the returns of those investments. Assumption 6, that you will be living off the income that capital generates. So we'll be using a withdrawal rate of 4%. That means that we're assuming that you can withdraw 4% of your capital every year and live off of that. And assumption number 7 is that we'll use an average inflation rate that will apply between now and retirement. And in this model, we're using a 3% inflation rate. It's a variable in the spreadsheet, so you can change it with your own inflation estimate. So let's go through the steps and do the calculations. Let's use the spreadsheet I set up. You could do this easily in Excel, Google Sheets, or Numbers, or even with a financial calculator. You're welcome to use mine, and I'll leave links how to get the spreadsheet in the description. Okay, let's do this. We're calculating how much you need to save monthly for retirement. Let's take the case of Nick, a data analyst at a financial institution. He just graduated from college last year, and so we'll go through his example. Here are the input variables. Nick is 23 years old, and he's expecting to retire at age 67. That means that he has 44 years to retirement. And he is expecting to have Social Security when he retires. Our average real return rate that we're using for the model is 7%, which is the long-term average of the US stock market. This means that when he retires, he will be living off 4% of the value of his investment portfolio. His annual income is $60,000, and he estimates that his lifestyle cost at retirement will be 100% of those $60,000, adjusted for inflation, obviously. And the amount that he has saved so far for his retirement is $1,000. Now let's do the calculations. Step number 1. Lifestyle annual cost at retirement in today's dollars for Nick is $60,000. Remember, this is all in today's dollars. In nominal dollars, it will be the equivalent of $60,000 in the future, adjusted for inflation. I did a quick calculation assuming a 3% inflation to see how much you will need in the future to have that same $60,000 of purchasing power. Here are the results. In 40 years, $60,000 will be equivalent to $195,000 40 years from now. So that means that at a 3% inflation rate, you would need $195,000 to have the same purchasing power as today. So this is an extremely important concept. Make sure you understand the impact of inflation in your retirement plan. Step number 2, multiply your salary, the annual salary, times 20%. That's 60,000 times 20%. That's how much Nick will be getting from his Social Security when he retires. Step number 3 is to subtract the $60,000 from line number 1 minus line number 2, which is what he gets from Social Security, and that leaves him with $48,000 of what he actually needs to generate from his savings and investments, his retirement savings. So step number 4 is calculate the savings factor, which basically you divide 1 divided by the withdrawal rate, and you get 25. That's 1 divided by 4%. So this leaves us with how much money he actually needs to retire. Basically, we take 48,000, line 3, and multiply it times line 4, the factor 25. That gives us the $1.2 million that he will need to retire. That's his number to retire at. When he gets $1.2 million in today's dollars, he can retire. So the question is, we're talking about everything in today's dollars. How many actual dollars do you need when he's 67, 44 years from now? Well, we just calculated by adjusting for inflation. We take the inflation rate of 1.3% and we inflate that 1.2 million over 44 years, and we'll get how much it was. So I did that calculation here. Let me show you. Here we go. So he'll need $4.4 million in the future, 44 years from now. That's $4.4 million will be the same as one having $1.2 million today. That's the magic number. That's his target. So step number 6. We're continuing down our calculations. And now we can see we have to adjust for or take into account Nick's $1,000 that he already has right here. Oops. There. So $1,000 in the future will be worth $19,000 based on investing it at 7% over 44 years. And in the Excel spreadsheet, you'll see the actual calculation, which you can mimic on your own. Let me just show it to you. It's right here. Basically, we're taking the $1,000 and inflating it or compounding 7% returns over 44 years. So that is 1 plus D6, which is a 7%. And we elevated 44 times. Basically, we compounded for 44 years and we get $19,000 and change in today's dollars. So that's what that $1,000 is worth if we compounded it at 7% for 44 years. That means that he still needs $1,180,372 to go. And in order to do that, we use the Excel model, and based on the calculation, he will need $335 a month. That is the number. That is his monthly number, his monthly bogey to be able to retire in 44 years from now. So how did we come up with this number? Well, let me show you the formula. Basically, we're using in your financial calculator or in Excel, which you'll have this formula for payments. How much is your monthly payment that you'll need to be able to get to that number, $1,180,000 in 44 years. So here's the payment formula, and there's 4 inputs, which is the investment rate, the rate at which you're compounding per period. So we have 7% per year, but we have to divide it by 12 because we're doing monthly. So each period is a month, not a year. So that means that we have the number of periods is really 44 years times 12 there. And we are starting with a present value of 0, and our future value that we need is the $1,180,372. That's the inputs to the formula, and Excel will compute it for you, or if you have a financial calculator, you can do it there also. So see how simple it is so far? That's pretty much it. That is our number. That's what Nick needs to accomplish. Doesn't seem that difficult. If we continue down our calculations to find out what percentage of his income it is, so we know that his income, monthly income, is his annual income divided by 12, which is 60,000 divided by 12 is $5,000 a month. And when we divide 9 by line 10, we get that it's 7% of his income. So there you have it. For Nick, it's fairly, I wouldn't say it's not a challenge, but it's a simple challenge to do. He just needs to sock away or save and invest 7% of his monthly income, and he should be golden. He should be able to retire without any issues. Okay, let's sum up what we calculated for Nick. For Nick to retire with the same purchasing power he has now, with an annual lifestyle cost of $60,000, means that he will need somewhere north of $200,000 in the future. And he would need $1.2 million in today's dollars, or $4.4 million at retirement 44 years from now. That's his number. To accomplish this, he needs to save and invest $335 per month from now until he retires. And by the way, those $333 need to be adjusted for inflation every year, because we did all our calculations in today's dollars, 2023. That means in 2024, he would need to increase that $335 by 3%. And that should do it. So let's do another quick example. We'll use Excel. I'll plug in the numbers and I'll review the final results. We'll go pretty quickly now, since I'm not going to explain in details. We'll just go to the results. Okay, let's do it. Let's review the case for Andrea's. Andrea's numbers are, she is 32 years old and she is earning $80,000 per year. We'll use the same assumptions as Nick, where he investing at real return of 7%. So based on these, oh, and by the way, she also has saved $15,000 for retirement so far. So running the calculations, we can see that her number is $1.6 million in today's dollars. So she will need to save $799, call it $800 a month, from now until retirement. And remember that you have to adjust that number for inflation every year. That is 12% of her monthly income. That's totally doable. Now, let's take a look at David. He is 37 years old and he is earning $100,000 per year. David has managed to save $10,000 for his retirement. His magic number, or his retirement number, is $2 million. And at this age, he still has 30 years to retirement, and he can manage to retire by saving $1,577 per month for the next 30 years. And that's about 19% of his monthly income. So this is doable too, given that he has a larger salary to work with. He's probably be able to manage to save 19% of his monthly income. Now let's look at Sam, our last example. She is 47 years old. That means that she has 20 years left to get to retirement. She's making $120,000, but she only has $10,000 saved. She's starting to stash away for retirement. Now let's see how her numbers look. Her number, the money that she needs to have is $2.4 million. That means that she would need to save from now on $4,533 each month for the next 20 years. That is around 45% of her monthly income. She would most likely have to make some spending habit changes, and also she would probably need to increase her income. So there you have it, how to calculate your number. We've done it for 4 different people. It's very easy. You can use a spreadsheet. Once you have your number, you need to make sure that you're investing consistently to be able to earn that 7% real return. I hope this was useful. If you have any questions, place them in the comments below and I'll do my best to respond. Oh, by the way, I'm going to place a link in the description for the spreadsheet. Thanks for watching. Remember, always be compounding. See you in the next video.